You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Man, talk about an hour and three quarters that has flown by. The calls just haven't stopped coming. That tends to happen when the All Blacks lose a test match. You'll know that, Adam Peacock. It's been, I'm not sure whether it's cut through over there or not, but the All Blacks had their heaviest ever test defeat this morning.
Yeah, we've heard, but we're not going to gloat because we're playing against France in about 12 hours' time or a few more hours than that. So, it's like one of those, you don't start beating your chest about anything because we've got ours coming, I think, against the French who are very good at the moment, going to do well in their home World Cup. But that was a bit of a shocker from a Kiwi point of view. But, hey, if you're going to have one of those, you may as well have it now and not in a month's time. So
100%. 100%. Now, just on that Wallabies-France test match and the lead-in to this test, former All Blacks coach Sir Steve Hansen's been helping out Eddie Jones. This certainly got people talking over this side of the Tasman. Did it make any waves over there?
Yeah, a bit. I mean, like, Eddie's whole coaching setup has been a bit weird. He's made some changes. He's brought in Jason Riles, I think, from rugby league because Riles, he's got a bit of spare time before he rejoins Melbourne Storm next year. And I think this sounds just like a handshake agreement with no payment crossing over. Steve Hansen, obviously Eddie needs someone who he can trust to if Eddie's not doing what Eddie should be doing, it's a bit hard to self-reflect in the midst of a World Cup preparation. So it's maybe a good idea to get somebody he totally trusts who knows what it takes at that level. Just the fact that his passport, which might get revoked, I heard the PM jokingly say over there that he might consider Steve Hansen's future citizenship options. But he got a bit of cut through over here, but it's a good thing this side of the Tasman, given all the issues that Eddie's had, that he's actually thinking outside the square and getting someone on board who actually is actually going to tell him the truth.
Indeed, we'll look forward to seeing how the Wallabies go against France tomorrow morning our time. Other matters around Australia's basketball team, the Boomers, starting their World Cup campaign with a comfortable 98-72 win over Finland in their opening game. What are the expectations around the Boomers at the Basketball World Cup?
Yeah, high. It's a deep tournament, and it's a really open tournament. Looking at the squads last night, there's no, like, the US aren't stacked. I mean, Canada on paper look to have a stronger side than the US, which is extraordinary. But that's the byproduct of the NBA expansion and the way that all the players are drafted there. But Australia has a really good chance, especially with Josh Giddey playing his first major international tournament for the Boomers as well. He's a star with Oklahoma in the NBA. So I think we'll be looking at what we did at the Olympics and getting to the medal round as seen as a good tournament. But it's a long tournament, and last night was a scratchy first half. And in the second half, they got things going, and defensively they stepped up. So a good start, solid start, but you can't tell too much. It's match one of hopefully a few for the Boomers.
We've got the United States tomorrow morning, so might. Yeah, I mean a good game to play in.
Yeah, and they're not the dream team. Like they're very all classy players in NBA circles, but they're not. Not like you're going up against the Barcelona 92 team, put it that way. So, outside sneaky hope, but you've got to make all your shots, especially from the perimeter against a side like the US. So that'll be the test for the Tall Blacks.
Absolutely. We're focusing on that after 2 on the show. And just finally today with you, the Women's World Cup. Obviously, it had its climax last weekend. By many metrics, it was judged a huge success. What was your final assessment of the Women's World Cup and its impact on the sporting landscape on your side of the Tasman?
Remarkable month. Like, I'm still, as you know, Piney, Saturday mornings, I'm usually out in the golf course and just bumping into everyone you talk down there. And these are middle-aged white blokes who wouldn't watch women's football as their first choice, put it that way. Every one of them are like, how good was that? How good was that? Like, everyone was just blown away by how well run it was, the Matildas, the bandwagon, all of that. Now, the trick is that obviously there's no domestic football here or there for the next 2 months at the top level. I'm talking A-leagues. But the trick is to just kind of roll it over and get some support. I do think that the material effect early on will be that more people will go to A-League women's games, which is unreal. And I noticed the draw came out this week. The Knicks are playing one game at their main stadium to start with, but then taking it to boutique stadium, which is probably the way forward. But over here, I think there'll be record crowds all the way through the A-League Women's, and hopefully it's something to build on for the future.
Yeah, and look, the same challenge over here is how do you capitalise? Because it would be a great shame, wouldn't it, that a year down the track we look back and say, hey, man, that was amazing, but we're not necessarily back where we started, but we haven't used it as a launch pad, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's the trick for football, but I think for women's sport, that it's shown that if you put a world-class event on in our backyard, people are just going to pull over themselves to get involved. And we've known this for a while with Olympics. It's not too dissimilar to the Sydney Olympics in that regard, but you're right, in football circles, like the administrators need to have their heads screwed on for the next month about exactly how you and there would have been plans in place, but now you've got the added bonus of it being a happy surprise about how big it was. Like, everyone knew it was going to be big, but not to that level. So, yeah, here's the trick now. It's over to the suits to kind of get it right.
How was your golf today?
Next question, about as good as the All Blacks were. Put it that way.
Love chatting to you, mate, about Australian sport. Adam Peacock out of codesports.com.au, our regular Saturday afternoon correspondent on all things Australian sport. Thanks, mate. We'll do it again next Saturday. Adam Peacock, part of our Saturdays here on News Talk ZB.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.